The key to acting is listening. So that is sales. You're listening to people and you're responding to them. And I only got into sales because I ran out of money. My friend said, get your real estate license, man. It's the same thing. And when he said that, I thought, real estate brokers suck. They're the worst. I hate them. Terrible. Best real estate deals I've ever done have been totally random, completely random. Like my first 3 years, I didn't take a day off. Like, you're not from New York. You don't look like you're from New York. If you want to be successful here, don't take a single day off for 3 years. If you last for those 3 years, year 4, day 1, you're going to be 7 years ahead of the competition. And that's kind of exactly what happened.
Ryan Serhant, welcome to Change Order.
I'm psyched, man. Thanks for having me on.
It's been a while since I've seen you. I think I looked at my email. I think it was 2021, which is
it was the heat of the market. Money everywhere.
The go-go times, like prices were up. I think you could have gotten a 2x on New York real estate at the time. It was wild. Yes.
Yeah, no, I remember that. And it was like, dude, are you Pfizer or Johnson & Johnson? Because I don't know, do I shake your hand or do I fist bump? That was the 2021, man, back in the day.
It was an in-person meeting too.
Yeah.
Well, I want to kick off because I think people are probably wondering, like, why are we chatting? And you are
they?
You're a person that's in the real estate brokerage world, but you're also an entrepreneur as well. But if I were to take a step back to the beginning of Ryan Serhant, I remember I asked you to tell me your life story. You were a struggling actor once upon a time.
Yes.
I think you bombed the LSAT.
Yes.
How did acting help you with your sales skills and getting to where you are now?
So the key to acting, honestly, and I was in school for acting for 20 years. I performed everywhere, is listening, right? There's if you talk to anyone, any of the Oscar-winning actors, they're going to tell you really it's your unbelievable talent to listen and respond instead of listening to just reply. Most people have something to say, and so they listen to you so that they can reply. Like, if I didn't know that, I'd be sitting here waiting for your next question. I wouldn't even actually hear it, and I would just be thinking about what I'm going to say to you because I'd be so internal on my own spotlight. When you're an actor, you can't do that. Otherwise, it's gross. It's fake. It's soapy. You know what I mean? It's like you can tell when someone's a bad actor. It's because they're spotlighting. So that is sales. You're listening to people and you're responding to them with information. Now, I can expand on that, right? You've got a bigger funnel and you're thinking about what types of responses you're giving. You're talking about selective communication and all that, but it's really about listening and breathing. And I had no idea that that's what sales was as well, but sales is talking. It's talking, it's conversations with people that you most oftentimes don't know. You're creating a relationship in 30 seconds or less. You're showing your authentic self, which as an actor you have to do. You can't walk on stage or walk in front of a camera and not be the person you say you're going to be. That's a bad actor. And I only got into sales because I ran out of money in New York and I didn't want to move home to Colorado. My friend said, get your real estate license, man. It's the same thing. And when he said that, I thought, well, that's weird. Like I just pretend to be somebody else. Is that really what real estate is? That's awful. Real estate brokers suck. They're the worst. I hate them. Terrible. And then I actually realized what the talent was and what the skill was. It's like, oh, I think I've actually been training to listen to people my whole life and be able to respond to them in complete sentences my whole life. Yeah. And that's how it started in 2008.
It's amazing. What was the peak of your acting career, by the way?
Right now, probably. I mean, it depends on who you ask. I guess, like acting, I did a soap opera. I did As the World Turns for a while, and then they killed me off. And that was brutal. And then, but Noah Baumbach cast me in a Ben Stiller movie called While We're Young in 2014. So it was 10 years ago. In my mind, that was like the peak of my acting career because I played a character. I got to do scenes with Ben Stiller and Naomi Watts and Adam Driver and Amanda Seyfried. It was like, we shot it in New York. It was so cool. Baumbach, it was so awesome to work on it. But I do perform on TV, like $1 Million Listing New York, Sell Like Serhant, the spin-off shows, the new thing that we're doing right now. It's a heightened reality. And so even though I'm not playing another guy with another name or changing the way I look, like I'm not sitting there on my phone being Ryan, doing email all day long. I'm performing as Ryan would if Ryan was running down the street to get to his next appointment, and that's what I'm doing because there's a camera in my face.
So when this whole like TV show stuff started, I think I read there was 3,000 other real estate agents that were going for the same role.
Yes.
When you got the phone call, what did it feel like?
Oh shit. It was, dude, I went to that audition. I'd put acting to the side, got into real estate to pay my bills so I could stay in New York. And I actually started to really like it because I spent 2 years in New York City from 06 to 08, going to auditions and not getting jobs and not making any money. So I was just living off of savings from summer jobs that I had in high school and college. And like that money goes by fast in New York. And so I was super budgeted, $2,000 a month. And I was doing odd jobs too. I was hand modeling. I was passing out flyers for people. I was doing random stuff to make ends meet. I didn't think about taxes whatsoever because I'm like, I'm making no money. And then when I got into real estate, there was just as much rejection, actually a little bit less than in theater and, in acting. But it wasn't about my face. It wasn't about my hair. It wasn't about my ears. It was about, I don't like that apartment. I took something else. Like, okay. And then I would move on to the next person. So as an actor, you learn it's a volume game. You want to be seen as much as possible because you never know. And you want to go all in every time. Real estate was the same thing. Every client I would meet, it's a volume game. The chances that they're going to do a deal with me are so low. But the more people I meet, the luckier I'm going to get. And I just have to go all in every time. And people phone it in and then things don't work out. And then they wonder why.
But why, oh shit? Like, why were you terrified?
Because I'd been doing real estate for like a year. I was doing small rentals in Koreatown, the Bronx, Harlem. Like, that's how I was making my money. I made $9,000 my first year. And then there's a casting call for $1 Million Listing, the New York version, because there was already one in LA. And so I was like, I did TV for a soap opera. I was an actor for a long time. I know how to be in front of the camera. And now I do real estate, and they were looking for the best real estate agents in New York under 35, and I was 25. And so I said, sure, like that's me. I'm definitely the best.
Yeah.
And so I knew how to audition. So I kind of went through that process. They whittled it down from 3,000 to like 1,000. 1,000 of us had to do a written application and show listings and all that stuff. So I had to like figure out where to get listings for the first time ever. And then they whittled that down. I don't know how they did it, but they whittled that all the way down to 16. And then 16 of us, they filmed for half a day each through the city, showing us their life. And then from there, they whittled it down to 4. That's when I got the call in October 2010 that they were going to start shooting in December, and that was going to be one of 4, but they were going to shoot the whole season with 4 of us, and only 3 of us were going to make the show. And that's how they kept the pressure on the whole time.
That's kind of epic. I mean, it reminds me a lot of in the tech world. Are you familiar with like the term vaporware?
Yeah.
So it's like people are selling product they don't necessarily have yet. It
Yeah,
almost
exactly.
sounded like you were like, all right,
That's
I'm
me.
going to
That was
sell
me.
ahead of my actual earnings in real estate and I'll figure it out.
Yeah. I basically like brought the BlackBerry that wasn't built yet, but it looked like it, and they were like, great, how soon can you ship? And I was like, December. And that's basically what happened. I had 2 months to put together my real estate career. I couldn't fake it till you make it. I couldn't lie. Like it's about to be on television. Not that I would do that anyway. So I had to, it really put a metaphorical shotgun to the head of, in 2 months, there's going to be cameras in front of your face every day. And they're either going to show you as the greatest salesperson in the world or the worst.
Yep.
The choice is yours. And the world will know. So good luck. It was like,
Man.
shit, what do I do? And that was a panic time, dude. I lost weight. Like I was just, it was a lot. It was a lot.
It's this fascinating psychological thing, though, when you put things out into the world and you tell other people what you're going to accomplish or what you want to do, you do end up doing it at a higher rate. And I feel like this is a perfect example of that. Yeah,
I'm a big manifester. Even moving to New York was not okay. Family, parents, friends. Like I didn't have a job. I had summer ranch job, money saved. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to just figure it out. I'm going to go to New York because that's where I'm going to find success. I think it's going to be in acting. Maybe it'll be in something else, but I don't know what that would be. So just hang tight. And it never happens the way you think it's going to happen. But that was the plan.
So you went from, what was it, $9,200, I think I read in your first year.
Yeah.
And you did $2 billion in 2022.
In 2022,
sales?
sure. Yeah, this year.
Maybe not your own personal income, but that's like a huge jump, I assume, because I can do the math in my head. Tactically, like what changed between that first year for you in the real estate business, going out and selling, to now being able to actually go close $2 billion worth of business?
Yeah, this year we'll do just about 5 billion in 2024. You know, a lot changed. I did a TV show that put me around the world. That was super helpful. Like it wasn't that people started calling me right away. It was that it made my cold call and my cold outreach a little bit easier. It was harder in some respects because who in New York City wants to deal with a reality TV real estate agent? But then it was easier in other respects where people just didn't know other people. And they were like, oh, if NBC Universal trusts you to be one of the best in New York, then I don't know, my place is like $1 million. Can you sell it for me? I know 10 other brokers, but they're all really annoying and you seem normal. And that was my pitch for a good amount of time. And then I saw, I don't know, I think everyone is in sales, whether they like it or not, whether they know it or not. You're either selling your fund, you're selling real estate, you're selling software, you're selling podcasting, you're selling advertising for podcasts, you're selling yourself as an author. You can go into the pharmacy right now, right? And you're going to tell them you have an itch. They will sell you hydrocortisone cream, right? And they're not going to sell you the local brand. They're going to sell you the expensive version because everybody is incentivized. And so it's just what makes the world go round. And I think, sales is really an unlocked skill set of the new economy, right? As we move further and further away from your W-2, that was the American dream for 50 years, roughly, right? 60 years, let's say. But things have changed now. And yes.
It's true though. I mean, I think the art of sales is so important, especially in this day and age when AI is like taking over many jobs. Yeah. People are on Zoom all the time. It's like being willing to get in front of people, having the ability to connect with other humans, so fundamentally important.
Yeah.
For you, how much of sales is actually you and your like genuine personality versus you acting?
Oh, I don't think I act. I mean, I'll act if we're going on camera and I have to they're like, hey, we're going to film you working out for an hour. I guess I could work out. Or like, hey, go have a conversation with that person. It's all authentic. It's not what I would do in that hour at that time because I have stuff to do. But everything I do is pretty authentic. I think anyone who meets me, and I hear this all the time because I meet people every day that I don't know, like, oh, it's so great. You're just like you are on TV. You're just like you sound on your book. Like, you're just like this. Like, what did you expect? Like, oh, well, I met that other guy. That guy sucks in real life. And I'm like, well, okay. I try not to suck in real life. I try to just be the person that I am. It's way easier.
It's authenticity.
Yeah.
It's the finest form of anything, I think, in life, is to bring your authentic self into things.
It's how Ray Dalio signs off, right? Authentically yours.
Yeah, it's powerful. So, all right, I get it. You had a TV show that helped you grow a little bit, but I did hear a rumor that you used to go up into the Upper East Side, I think, and you used to talk to pregnant women.
Listen.
What's the story?
What is this podcast? I'm not from New York. I'm not from here. I didn't go to schools here. I'm not overly religious. I didn't know anybody. All my friends in New York City that I made my first 2 years being here were acting friends, and those people have no money. And so in order for me to meet new clients and try to make any money, because as a real estate agent, there's no salaries. Like people complain about commissions and fees all the time. Like there's no base, there's no benefits, there's no nothing. And so you're a hunter and gatherer, right? You're a caveman or cavewoman running around. And so I would meet clients on Craigslist. That was number one for me. Or you'd have to go meet strangers. And my office is at 49th and Madison. And because I didn't have a network at all, it's like, what are the things I do? I go to, I guess, a coffee shop. Saks Fifth Avenue is across the street. And I go to a gym. I could work out for free at Equinox on 63rd and Lex because I would pass out flyers for them. And so if I passed out flyers, then I could work out for free in off-peak hours. So I was a flyer guy at the 63rd Street F station, train station. And so I would meet, So I would go to Starbucks on 49th and Madison, and I was like, how do I talk to total strangers? Now I know to use things like the 2 C's, which are you immediately give someone a compliment, disarm them, create instant superficial trust, and then you try to find something in common. Right? And then you just talk, and then all you have to do is ask questions. That is literally how you make friends and keep conversation going. You just ask questions because people love hearing themselves talk. And so with the pregnant women, what I saw was that they love a compliment when you're authentic, right? And we had something in common because they looked like they needed more space. And that's what I would do. If you were pregnant on the Upper East Side in New York City between like the end of 2008 to early 2010, and you were wearing Lululemon, there's a good chance that I was coming up to you and saying, just want to let you know, you look great. I'm not weird at all. I'm a real estate agent. If you're looking for a 2-bedroom apartment or a 3-bedroom apartment for a brand new bundle of joy, I would love to help you. Super cool. Here's my card. See ya. And multiple people came back to me.
Love that.
And, some of them were impressed that I had the balls to say hi to a stranger. Some of them got back to me like weeks later. Or like, hey, I told my husband how ridiculous it was that you stopped me in Starbucks. And I still am friends with some of those people to the day. I would also totally profile foreigners coming out of Saks Fifth Avenue. If you had more than 2 shopping bags, you could afford a new place.
That's smart, though. I mean,
it is what it is.
It's funny. So I don't know if I ever told you, but I was a real estate agent when I was
What?
when I was 18. I got my license.
Nice.
Winter break after my freshman year of college
In the city?
in Boston.
Nice.
Yeah, and I made some good loot thanks to my brother and some good SEO, which was wonderful.
Nice. Yeah, dude, solid SEO.
It was amazing. One thing actually though that really resonates with me from your story, and one thing why I think I find you really inspiring is you really did come out here from nothing and were able to make something of yourself. And when I came to New York, I remember when I joined a venture fund, I was looking around. I'm like, okay, there are all these kids from Harvard and Penn and Stanford, and they're backing their friends.
Yeah.
I went to the University of Miami. My friends weren't going and starting venture-backed companies in the next Uber. So I had to go and figure that out. And so before I had my job in venture, I literally was living in Boston at home. I drove for Uber during the day to make money. And I would literally go stop by HBS and walk into the iLab. And I'd go to MIT and I'd go into these random competitions and I would meet founders. And what's crazy is one of the best investments I ever made came from that 7 years after I met the founder. And it's now a nearly $2 billion company. And I just think about like, if you actually go figure out where can you find these pools of talent and where will these long relationships come from, it'll pay out in the long run.
Just got to put yourself out there. You never know. The best real estate deals I've ever done have been totally random, completely random.
So speaking of, real estate agents, and I think I have a little bit more empathy for real estate agents. What do you think people get wrong about real estate agents?
Everything. I think every industry has bad apples, and the lower the barrier of entry, the more bad apples you're going to find, right? It's like, it's pretty easy to be born. It's not, right? It's like 1 trillion to 1, but there's a lot of humans, which means there's a lot of bad apples out there. Doesn't matter where you're from, what you look like, your parents are, there's some people who are just bad. And for real estate agents, right? Because the barrier of entry has historically been so low, and because there is no salary, because there is no guarantee of pay, there are no benefits. Oftentimes you're dealing with somebody, especially in their early days, who are really, really actually hungry. Right. And so because the system has been stacked against independent contractors, the independent contractors had to use the system against itself. And so I think people assume that salespeople in general they only care about their commissions. They only care about their fees. They don't actually care about me. I don't want to be sold. I don't want to be sold. Right. Which is why I always tell salespeople that people hate being sold, but they love shopping with friends, which is true.
Yeah.
I think real estate agents are actually incredibly smart. The good ones are very, very smart. Yes, they're incentivized, but they are actually very honest and very ethical and incredibly hard workers.
Agreed.
The hardest working people that I see, and everyone can work hard, but to wake up every single day and go and try to sell real estate without any guarantee of what your life is going to look like by the end of the day is really hard, which is why the churn is like 85%. Like, I don't know other than maybe like coal mining back in the day, where the churn was so high because it's just so hard to make it. And then it's a lot about just memorizing information. So I think a lot of people think that, oh, I can do their job.
Yeah.
Right. I don't think most people think they can do heart surgery. So like, you need a surgeon, but they think, oh, I can do that person's job. And maybe a brand new agent who was just licensed, you could do that person's job, maybe. But for someone that's been in it for a long time, who's actually a seasoned professional, their job is really to protect you, to give you that strategy and tell you what to do so that you can either sell and make the most amount of money, or buy and buy right, and give you that information that you need.
Yeah, I think the reality is I don't know any SaaS sales reps who are working every Saturday and Sunday of the year.
Yeah, of course.
Meanwhile, my brother, I remember to this day, is responding to his clients every Saturday, every Sunday, leaving dinners, talking to people. It's like,
you're 20 hours a day, 7 days a week.
It's wild.
Like, my first 3 years, I didn't take a day off because that was the advice I was given. They're like, you're not from New York. You don't look like you're from New York. If you want to be successful here, every other person here eventually is going to go on vacation, or they're going to go to the Hamptons, or they're going to go to the movies. You can complain all you want, in which case you should probably get out of the sales business, or all you have to do, and it's really easy, don't take a single day off for 3 years. If you last for those 3 years, like you work Christmas, you work every Sunday, right? Unless you're brutally ill and sick.
Yeah.
Year 4, day 1, you're going to be 7 years ahead of the competition. And that's kind of exactly what happened. Like, after those 3 grueling years, I saw that I was taking business from seasoned veterans, and it was because I was there. Like, it was because I was responsive, because I moved fast, and because I was just working every day, and clients actually like that. If they're going to pay a commission to an incentivized salesperson, you want the person who's going to show up with a tattoo of your name on their chest because they will die for you. You don't want the person who's going to be like, yep, all right, I'll be back on Tuesday. You good?
No, doesn't work.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the sense of urgency, I think, that it feels like you take and other people who are great at the craft that ultimately separates you probably from the rest of the pack.
Yeah.
I feel like it's hard about the business is it's not only is it 24/7 and like all on, but it's also a business where you're starting to take on more and more and more clients, right?
Yep.
Same thing in our business. It's a services business. We have to work with a bunch of founders. The larger your portfolio gets, the harder it is to respond to them. One way that I think we're all talking about the world starting to change for service industries is artificial intelligence.
Yep.
Let's shift gears. Let's talk about AI.
Yeah.
What's your take on AI? Like, how do you think it's going to impact your world, and how should real estate agents use it?
We've been focused on AI for, I guess, 2 years now, actively focused on it. We have a pretty strong take. I mean, for anyone listening to this who doesn't know me, fast forward past the $1 million listing days and all that stuff. We became the number 1 sales team in New York in 2017. I then left the brokerage I was at and started my own company in 2020. We are a real estate brokerage. We're a new construction business, consulting business. We also have an ed tech platform called sellit.com. And then we have a production studio, amongst other things. And so as part of the brokerage, as we were looking at AI, we really saw it as a true paradigm shift, really. Like you have the printing press, right? That was a paradigm shift.
It was.
Because it was the democratization of information, right? Because before that, it was really hard to write, let alone read. And so now you can multiply that times thousands and millions of pieces of paper and so on and so forth. You had the combustible engine, which was a paradigm shift, right? And what was so wild about that one was like the tractor, for example. If you look back in history, there was so much angst against it because the ox was better, because farms were like this. You're in Boston.
Yeah.
I grew up on a farm in Boston. Like there's no flatness there. You go to London, right? There's no flat. It's all the farms are curvy.
Yeah.
And so they said, well, a tractor can't do this. Except the smart people said, paradigm shift. Why don't we just change the farm? Okay. And so that's what you're going to see happening with AI. It's not about what jobs get replaced or what tasks necessarily get replaced. It's how do we then change the work? How do you redefine the way you work now? And so we created something called Simple, which is where we take these large action models to just do work for people. And you're doing administrative back office work, really. Because I looked out and I said, I bet all of our competition is going to be like the bug. You know, like the bird and the bug analogy?
No, what's the bird and the bug analogy?
You have two types of companies during any major revolution or paradigm shift. The bug is flying down the highway, the bird's flying down the highway. They're both flying, everything's fine, okay? But this new thing, in this instance it's AI, is the car speeding at them with a nice big windshield. The bug sees it from a distance, thinks it's above it, doesn't really pay attention to it that much, says, you know what, I'm just going to wrap a chatbot, it's totally okay, and then hits the windshield. The bird sees it from a distance, but says, and is able to change its flight path. And so I think you're going to have a lot of companies that are the bug, and only a few companies that we'll be talking about the next couple of years that are the bird. And so for us, I looked at all of our competition in the real estate space anyway. I'm like, I bet everyone's going to wrap ChatGPT and Claude and Bard and so on and so forth. And I think they're going to have white labeled LLMs and they're going to say, we have AI now. And I think they should do that. I don't think that's that revolutionary. And then the problem there is in our business for salespeople, the last thing anyone wants to do is more things. No one wants another screen. Like I could go to any salesperson on the street right now and say, your life could be so different. Figure out the right prompts and go use ChatGPT. Just download the app or go online, set up an account. It costs money now. Or use another one. And they're going to say, dude, the last thing I want to do right now is another task, even if it would make my life helpful. So we took a different approach to it where we said, no problem. What does Amazon Prime for administrative work look like? Where the salesperson will just ask for the work that used to take 5 hours. And what if we could just have it done in 5 minutes? But they don't actually have to do it anymore. They don't have to have screens to do it. It just gets done for them. So what if we allow AI to take support staff? We create individual recipes for every task that salespeople need to do, okay? And those recipes can turn a support staff member that like at Compass can handle about 4 humans a day, let's say, in terms of support. What if ours can handle 160 people a day in terms of support? And so that's where we have found real runway. It's called Simple. We started using it with our people in January. So it's only been a couple months, but it is like wild. And it creates such stickiness because you don't actually have to learn it. You don't have to do anything. It just gets done for you.
It's incredible.
And so anyway, I think that AI is obviously a total game changer. Remains to be seen, what happens next.
Yeah.
I think right now you have a lot of just like copycat stuff and things that like aren't that helpful. Like I saw on Instagram earlier, it's like, well, now you've got Meta AI, ask me anything. I'm like, to DM? I don't understand. Why would I even do that? Maybe I'm missing something. I don't know.
It's like the LinkedIn stars that are popping up. Do you have this in your version yet? We're like, oh my gosh. I'm like, what am I? I'm clicking on it. I'm looking at it. I'm like, this isn't valuable. There's not really a great use case here.
Yeah. The goal is to create more productivity.
Totally.
Right. And it's not to replace jobs. It is to, and it's not even to replace tasks the way people talk about. I think it's to redefine what it means to do a task. But all I've seen is more people get into sales. I don't, sellit.com is sales training, direct to consumer and B2B. So we do sales training for entire sales forces and enterprises, especially post-COVID where there's no sales floor anymore. Like I won't name names, but our first B2B client we ever did that we're working with right now is one of the biggest companies on the planet. And they came to me and they were like, what is this sell it thing you do? I was like, sales training for gig workers, independent contractors. Like, do you do it for sales forces? And I'm a salesperson. My answer is always yes. Yeah, we'll figure it out. And as we saw, they have, for one product, they have 3,500 SDRs who are no longer there's no sales manager. Everyone's virtual. These people are in Ireland. They're in Alabama, right? They're in Texas. They're in New Zealand. And so there's no culture. They're this massive company. their salesperson churn went from 23% in 2019 to 56% today, right? So when they brought us in, they said, you're not even a cost. You are going to be a savings. Even if you could reduce churn by 5%, and I think we're going to do a much better job.
Yeah.
And you can increase productivity by just 5%. Like those are our KPIs, our key metrics. It'll change their business, and they have no sense of community, no training. They have product intelligence. Like I'm not coming in there and teaching people like this software.
Yeah.
But you do the sales training and it's been wild. It's so cool to watch. And that's just one of the verticals.
You mentioned recipes.
Yeah.
What's like the most impactful recipe that you guys have introduced to your team?
So I have different, the ones I like are different than everybody, which is what makes the AI so cool.
Yeah.
It's almost like, it's like the internet, right? Like you might have a different use than I like. My use for the internet is a little bit different from, I don't know, maybe the girl outside who's like, I need to shop, or whoever. Yeah. So for me, we have a recipe called Show Plan, for example. So you don't actually have to do anything. So I would just go in and I would say, I'm with Jason. He wants to go find a 3-bedroom, up to $4 million. And he wants to be in Gramercy, maybe the West Village. You can push him to the Upper East Side. Could you just find a bunch of options, send it to his email? I think his email is in my contacts. I'm not sure, but figure it out. Also set up all the showings for us for Sunday to 12 to 3, because that's when he said it was available. And just make sure the calendar invites are synced between him and me and all the agents. Everything's good. So that is manual work for every other company except for us now. And it is so weird to watch it work. But I feel like in 2 years, I'm going to be like, oh man, remember Show Plan 1.0?
Yeah.
Like we have a lot of others. I think that one's pretty cool to watch in our world anyway. But I think using AI to really empower and create massive efficiencies in back office, and not just purely consumer facing, because none of our salespeople actually use the quote unquote AI, right? It's a simple consumer facing app that just does their whole life for them and buys their time back.
I think that's a super important thing, because when you take a look at the market right now, we're getting pitched so many AI tools for real estate agents. And I'll say it right now, I will never invest in one. Because I've
been pitched them too.
It's crazy. It's like the market size is not that big. There's a huge 80-20 rule, as I think you probably might even be 90-10 in terms of how many agents actually make money in the industry.
Yeah.
But B, there are people like you. There are people like Compass going out trying to build their own stuff in-house. And you're attracting probably the best talent out there in the market, where you're going to make more money off of the brokerage fees that are coming in than these SaaS companies are ever going to have. And your churn won't be that bad of the agents you're bringing in, because you're probably pretty damn good at interviewing folks and bringing the best talent under your umbrella.
Yep.
So you've scaled from how many agents to, when you first started to now?
Oh, when we started the company in September 2020 in the depths of COVID, and shut down New York City, we were 4. Today we're like 600.
Wow. 600 across how many cities?
8.
Okay.
We have 150 employees at this point.
How do you find the right people? How do you make sure they're the right people that you're going to bring and put your name on their business card?
So you have 2 types of real estate agents. You have principals, who are either licensed salespeople or associate brokers. They can run their own teams. They can do their own business. And then you have juniors, right? So those are people the way we look at it, you've got to be a principal, you have to have been in the business for at least 5 years. And you have to carry an annual rolling GCI, so gross commission income every year, of at least $500,000. Now, every market's a little bit different because it's easier to get to that number here or in Miami than it is in Bluffton, right? Juniors always have to go into an apprentice program, and they have to be monitored very, very closely by whoever their principal agent is. Okay. So that's one. But then I really look for people based on, I guess, 3 things. One, if you want to be successful in anything, let alone you're saying you're in sales or you're in software, right? You have to have energy. You must have energy first and foremost.
Yeah.
Right? Everyone's tired. No one cares. Everyone has pain. No one cares. If you focus on the pain, you're only going to feel pain. If you focus on the energy, you will always have it. So energy is one. Enthusiasm is second. And those are different to me, because you could be highly energetic and have no enthusiasm for what you're doing. And then you're just kind of annoying. And so like, I really look for enthusiasm, and then I look for empathy. As a salesperson, you have to be on the high when your clients are on the high, and you have to meet them at the low when they're on the low. Most salespeople I meet, they can fake enthusiasm, right? They can definitely be highly energetic, whether it's synthesized or not. And but they have a hard time with the third one because most people just don't care. And if you're good, they want to be good because they care about themselves. But when you're bad, like they don't get it because they're not you. And so you've got to be able to put yourself in other people's shoes. And so those are like the 3 E's that I would look for.
How do you suss that out?
Energy, you can suss out by talking to somebody.
Yeah.
Pretty clearly. And it doesn't mean they have to be a spaz.
Yeah.
It means you're keeping the same vocal cadence the entire time. It means you're sitting up, you carry yourself well, like you're excited to be there, right? Yeah. You have energy. You can tell the difference. Enthusiasm, I ask them about the best day of their life. Okay. And if they're like the day my daughter was born, and then it's pure silence, like, that's going to be a tough one. Like, tell me a story. Selling is storytelling at the end of the day. And empathy, I tell them to tell me about the worst day of their life. And I don't need you to cry, but like if you say the day I didn't get into Harvard, I actually don't know if that's the worst day of your life. And now I don't know if you're telling me the truth. And now I feel like you're going to overanalyze everything you ever say to anyone at this company based on how you think it's going to make you look. And I don't want to work with that kind of person because sales, especially real estate sales, can be highly emotional.
Yeah.
A seller selling a home for a number they never wanted to sell for. Like you've got to be able to talk to them. You have to be able to lower your voice. You have to be able to talk a little slower and say, I understand. I hear you. And when they're excited, you don't necessarily need to match them, but you have to be there with them and push them forward and say, let's go. This is awesome, right? Remind them of what the end game is. People are going to make the decision no matter what. Your success as a salesperson is to align their interests with yours and have them make that decision with you, right? As their advisor.
I think a lot of what's underlying what you're talking about are probably 2 things. One is the ability to connect with people, which it sounds like you think people who can lead with vulnerability and communicate their vulnerability, that's pretty powerful. The second is a tactic I assume you've probably leveraged and talked about a lot, which is mirroring. And then the third is probably somebody's drive. Like how driven is somebody? And I know Peter Thiel asks people a lot in interviews, how successful are you going to be?
Yeah.
Is that something you ever ask about?
Sometimes, the question I will ask, because that question feels very vague, is I'll tell them, so we work together. Let's say you and I both decide to do this today. What's true a year from now? Like, what's the truth a year from now? And if they have a hard time answering that, then that means they haven't really thought about their goals. They haven't thought about what they want this to be. It doesn't mean they're dumb. It just means that they're not in line with their own vision of their success as I would hope they would be. Because I don't want you to come here and fill a seat. I don't want you just to come here and be upset. Working is hard. Like work is hard. Totally. No matter what the job is. And to know what's true a year from now is a pretty good test. Like when we train people, oftentimes we'll have them write out like the person that they are 2 years from today and put it in their notes in their phone or write it on a piece of paper, carry it around with them, put it in your purse, take a photo of it, stick it on your desk, whatever works for you. Because the more detailed you are, the sooner you're going to get there. And it happens every time, as long as you're realistic. I
heard that's something that you still do to today?
Yeah.
What does it say right now?
Well, I don't have it here. When was the last time I did it? I guess it was December. It's relatively pretty personal. The company is building a lot, is changing a lot. My family is, we have our first daughter now. And so there's things about my family that way. I think, I want my weight to stay around 200 pounds. It can fluctuate in times of stress, like I want to, not be in physical pain. I want to make sure I see my grandmother, like stuff like that, and I'll get super detailed on money in the bank right? Valuations, like what I just sold is this, where I just ate was this. I actually got to go to this cool place, and you just as detailed as you can be, and that's how you manifest it. You just have to write it down.
It's like so important in this day and age where like social media is flying everywhere, and especially in New York City where it's like things are busy nonstop. I feel like to like take a step back, to go out, get silence, and really be able to write those things down and internalize them. Otherwise, it just feels like life's just going to pass you by really, really fast.
Yeah, I think because my back was up against a wall when I first got to the city, and I ran out of money, and I got into real estate, and I followed that advice. I didn't take 3 years off. I didn't take a day off for those first 3 years, and it worked for me. I don't know if it worked for everybody, but it worked for me. The problem with it, though, is I never found balance. So the only way I knew success from 3 years until now is go all the time, fast and furious, and that became my became my equilibrium. And I was always almost against other people stopping. Like you even read, you read the Elon Musk book, and he talks about he's done 2 vacations. Both of them were awful and he'll never take another one again, kind of thing. And you're like, oh, okay, man, that's what you need to do to be worth 250 billion or whatever the number is, if that's a success metric for you. But then my director of new development, who runs all of our new construction projects, so she has like a $10 billion portfolio. We promoted her. And she was a go person since the day I met her like 6 years ago. Never taken a vacation. She goes to vacation. She brings her laptop. She's on the beach at work kind of thing. I've never known her to do anything for herself. She takes a 3-month sabbatical for the first time ever.
Amazing.
And comes back to work in her new role, like literally a different person. Her, not just IQ, like her EQ has changed. She now gets more work done and spends less time working. And I'm like, the fuck did you do in Hawaii? I don't understand. Like, I don't get it. And she found happiness and all that fun stuff. It's just like, I think I just had to see it in person instead of just hearing it from everyone under the sun, to see that like, you've got to be able to find that balance to make both sides as strong as possible.
Absolutely. I think it's about reconnecting with yourself ultimately, and taking that time to create the headspace to do so.
Yeah.
Think about Bill Gates. He goes out into the wilderness, right, for like a week. I think it's a week every single year. He just reads nonstop about different topics he's interested in, and I'm sure he's doing a lot of thinking. I think that's actually why some of the most successful entrepreneurs out there meditate every single day.
Yeah.
It's because we're all go all the time. We're context, switching. And when do you actually have time to like do a real check-in with yourself? And for some people it's a sabbatical, and other people it might be a cold plunge. Or sauna. Maybe that's Ryan's unplugging.
Yeah, I've done cold plunge a bunch. I go in like waves with that cold plunge, like it just, I get it kind of. Like I kind of get it. It's cold though.
It is cold. All right, last few questions here. One, there was just a big NAR lawsuit in the news. What's your take on everything that just went down and how it'll impact the industry?
Obviously, I'm biased because I'm in the industry. I think that the groups being sued, which were for the most part the 2 largest brokerages in the United States, plus the National Association of Realtors, which is basically the trade union for the United States, minus New York City, right? Which is a whole bucket of fun there. I think they never took it seriously. And so they were poorly defended, and they're paying the price for it. I think there should be free market conversations about compensation. I'm all for transparency. I think there definitely are standards that shouldn't be seen as standards. They should be seen as options. If you want to pay a salesperson 6% and you believe that that person is going to give you the best service, great. If you want to pay someone 1%, of which you could always do. There's been discount brokers forever. There are firms that'll charge you $150 to sell your house. It's not great service. And I went on Squawk Box on CNBC afterwards, and I said the same thing there, which is, when you're paying for a service, great service is always expensive, right? But bad service will cost you a fortune.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really true. So unfortunately, what I think is going to happen now, and I'm already seeing it happen, is great service used to be, pre this whole thing, kind of a standard of between 5 and 6%. Now it's getting more and more expensive because the great service is now saying, so you're attacking my livelihood and I'm the best in the business? Got it. So I guess there is no standard anymore. We should have a free market conversation about compensation. The standard used to be 6%. I'm 7 now, or I'm 8 now, because the lawsuit had nothing to do with the amount. It was just about who owes what to whom. And so things are now starting to sell off market. I had an agent the other day who said, hey, I have exactly what your client's looking for. It's off market. But to show it, just so you know, like the commission's probably going to be about 8%. And I was like, well, paid by who? It's like, your buyer. It's like, well, I'm not showing it. It's like, no problem. But wait, no, that's the perfect house for them. That's what they're going to want. And I'm like, holy shit. These are the unintended consequences of of class action lawsuits. Like the lawyers made tons and tons of money. I've never been paid 33% for anything in my life, right? And I never will be. I mean, maybe. And so, I think, though, for the consumer, you're just going to be very well aware of everything you're paying on both sides of a transaction.
Yeah.
I mean, I could talk to you about this for hours and hours and hours. I think everything's going to be fine. It's not going to be earth-shattering. I don't think the 6% commission goes away at all. I think there's going to be some instances where maybe there's no commission, like there's always been. I think in some instances there's going to be much higher commission, which there hasn't always been. And that's what everybody asks for, so that's what you're going to get.
I think the reality is all markets are efficient, right? And like we live in the United States of America. It's a free market. Yep. People can do what they want to go do. And
I thought it was a free market.
Yeah,
I'm not so
relatively
sure
speaking. I mean, I think what's fascinating though is if people look at the history, I hate to bring them up again, but like Compass in the early days was not the Compass that it is today.
Correct.
They tried doing a flat fee model.
Everybody tries.
And what did they learn? They learned that they can't go get really high quality agents to do it because the best people in the business will always fetch a premium. Yeah. And they're worth it.
Well, it's not even just that, right? It comes down to which model contains greater risk. And the traditional model contained a little bit less risk, which is what they are now. But there's also a litigation risk. You're dealing with heavy homes. Like you're selling someone's house for $500,000, $50 million. Like these are big ticket items. Yeah. So if someone makes a mistake on the sale of a $100 pair of shoes, your liability as the owner of that salesperson is small. Yeah. If a salaried salesperson who has no incentive to answer the phone at 6 p.m. or 6 a.m., right, makes a careless mistake because they hold themselves to a lower standard based on what their compensation is on a $2 million sale, that person doesn't get sued. The company gets sued. And so the lower the cost of service, the higher the risk of litigation because of human error. Like I think I'm pretty good at what I do. We are so careful and so protective of our clients. We are going through contracts. Like I have lawyers who work in our office. When you are a flat fee firm or you're a discount firm for the benefit of the consumer, what you really are so that you can survive is you're a volume business. You have to do so many more transactions to pay your rent and to pay those salaries. It's true. Right? And so to do that, you have to get as many bodies in the door as possible to pay those base salaries to the benefit of the consumer. And you create massive risk for the consumer. And then the consumer doesn't actually care whether they paid $1,500 or $150,000 for the same service. I'm going to sue you. And that's what happens. And that's why those models fail. Incentives
rule everything around us. So you also said, I think going back to incentives, that a paycheck kills dreams every day. What do you mean by that?
Oh, I mean, I probably took that from like George Clooney from Up in the Air when he was like, And he's like, how much did they pay you to walk away from your dreams? And you were like, $25 an hour. I was going to be a chef. I the one thing I'm glad I never did, and I was so close to it so many times, was I never got what's called like a survival job, as an actor. Because everyone I knew was a waiter or bartender, whatever. They did something just to pay the bills. They weren't career bartenders, is what they told me. Except 20 years goes by real fast. I've been in New York 20 years now. And the ability to pay your rent based on something that's more guaranteed than you going to open casting calls all day is a scary thing to walk away from. Totally. And you don't want to lose that shift. And so that paycheck or those hours that are easier to do than going and being vulnerable in front of strangers ends up just becoming easier for a long time. And then those dreams get put to the side. And then what you're really in New York to do is wait tables, right? Not follow your dreams as an actor. So I was always and listen, I understand that that's really, really hard for most people. And so I think everyone's just got to do what they have to do. But I would rather be put up against a financial wall than be put up against a paycheck wall and then be on the other side of it with no door.
I mean, if you're in a corner, you have to fight your way out.
Yeah. And
the reality is in the US, the challenge is that healthcare is super expensive and people usually are leaning towards the safer bet, the safer path, more security, partially because of that.
Yeah.
And then they just get stuck in this, day-to-day role that they're currently in. Last question for you, I'd like to ask everybody. If you were mayor of New York City, what's one thing that you would change?
Everything. That must be what everybody says. Everything, man. Like I moved here in the Bloomberg era. It's a different city.
Yeah.
It's a different city. People wanted to move here. They wanted to work here. There were tax incentives for tech to pull people out of California, right? New York City was run like a company. It was run like a business. And that's what you need to do. It is a business. There's employees, there's people, there's customers, there's fees, right? It's a business. And that's how you would need to run it, right? You need to run it like a CEO. And not everyone's going to like you, but you have to do what's best for the company, which is what's best for New York City, right? I would take care of sanitation workers, right? I would take care of the cops, right? NYPD and FDNY are the most important people in the city. You would push to remove all corruption, all bullshit, right? You would have real programs for housing, for affordable living versus what we have to go through now. Like there is not nearly enough housing for people in this city. And it's a political fight every single time. It's not a human fight. It's not an ethics fight. It's a political fight and it's a money fight, which is gross.
Yeah.
Right. And so many other things.
I like that.
But answer. I would work to fix the system, just like the paradigm shift that we talked about with the combustible engine.
Yeah.
I feel like everyone who becomes mayor of this city and most cities comes in just to try to make the ox better. Instead of saying, or trying to like make the we're going to fix it over here. We're going to fix it, instead of just trying to change the farm.
I love it. Ryan Serhant, thanks for joining me, man.
For mayor.
Appreciate it.